All right, Chapter 8, the FRA Manual, the Federal Railroad Administration Manual, Motor Power and Equipment. We are on Chapter 8, Railroad Safety Card and Appliances. Statute 22969, side bearings. Friction side bearings with the side bearings designed to carry the weight may not have more than 25% of the ring in one nest broken. Friction side bearings may not be run in contact unless designed to carry the weight. Maximum clearance of the side bearings may not exceed 1/4 of a quarter of an inch on each side of each of the total of 1/2 inch on both sides, except when where more than two side bearings are used under the same rigid superstructure. The clearance on one pair of side bearings under the same rigid superstructure shall not exceed 1/4 of an inch on each side, or a total of 1/2 inch on both sides. Other side bearings um, under the side same rigid structure may have only 1/2 inch clearance on each side and a total of 1 inch on both sides. These clearance apply with the spread of the side bearings of 50 inches or less, where they are spread greatly, and the side bearings clearance may only be increased proportionally. All right, your section guidance is Section B. Side bearings may not run into contact unless they are designed to carry the weight. They determine whether there is no clearance between the pair of the side bearings that appear to be in contact with both sides. The inspector must use a thin filler gauge to make the determination whether the clearance exists. There are two measurements allowed of locomotive, which are two trucks under the same structure. The total not exceeding 1/2 an inch is allowed of the side bearing on the one truck under the same structure. A total not exceeding 1 inch is not allowed on the trucks, which more than one pair of side bearings per truck. Superstructure is only part of the over the trucks. The inspector must be cognizant with configurations that allow for more than one pair of the side bearings on one of the truck. No exemption shall be taken on all of the side bearing clearance is one side. There is no apparent problem with the locomotive. All side bearings must be taken on the tangent level of the track. 22973. The variation of the circumference of the wheels of the same axle may not exceed 1/4 of an inch to two tape sizes when applied with the term. The maximum variation of the diameter between two wheels set in three powered axles may exceed 3/4 of an inch, except when they are in shims and is used for the journal box springs to compensate the wheel diameter variation. With the maximum variation may not exceed 1 1/4 of an inch. The maximum variation of the diameter between the two wheel set on a different truck. The locomotive that has three powered axles may not exceed 1 1/4 inch. The diameter of the wheel is set the average diameter of the two wheels of the axle. C. On the standard gauge locomotive, the distance between the inside gauge of the flange on the non-wide flange gauges may not be less than 53 inches or more than 53.5 inches gauges. This distance between the inside gauge of the flange may be on the wide flange may not be less than 53 inches or more than 53 1/4 inches. The distance for the back-to-back flanges wheels must be mounted on the same axle should not be vary more than 1/4 of an inch. Section B. The section details with the problem mismatched wheels and identifies as 1. Wheel slip control, 2. Traction motor current unbalance, and 3. Axle load variations. 1. Wheel slip control systems bring into play either the manual sanding or the e-engineering automatic sanding triggered in response to the arrest of the wheel slip. In either case, sanding by substantial increase the ratio of the lateral to the vertical forces created with the derailment possibility. 2. Traction motor current unbalance results in different current levels between the motors in the truck that affects the traction motor operating temperature and the distribution of the traction effort. 3. The axle load variation caused by the different wheel sides that affects the adhesion depending on the various axle locations. Since some axles are called upon accepting more or less than the locomotive's weight would equal the wheel size, affect the track characteristics of the locomotive. A lightly loaded leading axle truck would have a greater tendency to decline with the rails, the curve of the track irregularities, while heavy loaded axles has the same effect on the train's traffic structure on the heavier locomotive. Inspectors are advised that the regulation applies with the three-powered axle. The inspector should employ the witness screw method to determine the wheel's diameter. The properly measure the diameter of the locomotive wheel, measure the distance with the top of the reference witness screw to the outer edge of the rim, multiple by 2, and add 36 inches. A standard steel wheel gauge, finger gauge, would normally be used with the measurement gauge 1 through W3019. Can also be used to determine wheel diameter, especially 44 inches of wheels involved. 229.75 Wheels and tire defects. Wheels and tires may not have any of the following conditions. 1. A single flat spot of 2.5 inches or more in length, and 2 adjoining spots that are each 2 or more inches in length. B. A gouge or chip within the flange that is more than 1.5 inches in length or 1.5 inch in width. A broken rim that is treaded more than flange at 5/8 of an inch or above the tread and is more less than 3 3/4 of an inch in width. D. A shelled out spot of 2.5 inches more in length, or 2 adjoining spots that are 2 or more inches in length. E. A seam running lengthwise in which 3 1/4 of an inch of the flange. A flange worn with 7/8 of an inch thickness or less, the gauge pointed at 3/8 of an inch above the tread. A tread worn hollow of 5/16 of an inch more than the locomotive in the road service, 38 of an inch more on the locomotive switching service. A flange height of 1.5 inches or more, measured with the tread on the top of the flange. Tires less than 1/2 inch thickness, tires less than 1/5 inch thickness. Rims less than 1 inch in thick on the locomotive in the road service. The load 3/4 of an inch on the load locomotive in the yard service. A crack or break in flange, tread, rim, plate, or hub. A loose wheel or tire. M. The fusion welding spot may not be used in the tires or steel locomotives except for the wheel repair of the flat spots where worn flanges on the locomotive where used successfully. The yard service. A wheel has been welded and wheeled before the life of the wheel. Okay, great care should be exercised measuring the wheel, the flat spots, and the high flanges. The inspection should be appropriate with the wheel gauge, not included the measurement along with the non-blind conditions, unless the wheel defect is in question. Served with the very additional monetary penalty can be established as reflected in the penalty schedule. Additional guidance on how the gauges are to be measured with weather can be found in the guidance written by the statute 215-103. Section C, Section K. A crack in the wheel will require some judgment of the part of the inspector, especially those requiring the inspected motor power equipment locomotive using the commuter service. These cracks are found in the discolored wheels extend the tread outward over the edge of the rim into the flange. Should be considered as dangerous to the safety of the wheel and handled with the correction with the railroad. If any of the crack appears to be open, it should be reported because the wheel has gone with the state of detention. Any further thermal abuse may result in a broken wheel. The cracks are often repaired with the thermal cracks resulting in high-speed, short-distance, heavy braking required for the commuter service. Inspector should be aware of such conditions, bringing the issue of the specialist attention to the evaluation and monitoring the situation required. Section M. At the option of the railroad, welding the wheels is permitted if the emergency repairs in order to move the railroad locomotive through from an accident site or a location where the defective wheel cannot be replaced. However, any subsequent movement can be only made by the required Section 229(9)(e), i.e., the locomotive cannot be used in service, can only be moved light or dead and towed. It is also permissible to welded locomotives. The locomotives used only in the yard service. Yards are defined in yard limits, which are designated by the road, are usually found in the current timetable established by the posted signs. Locomotives with welded wheels can only operate on the tracks within designated limits of the yard, whose movements are governed in Rule 93 of the Association of American Railroad Standard Operating Rules. The minimum requirements of Rule 93 are defined in Statute 218-35. All right, moving on to 229.77. Current collectors. Pantographs shall be arranged so that they can be operated with the engineering's normal position in the cab. The pantographs are automatically raised when they are released. Shall have the automatic locking device to ensure that they are down position. Each pantograph operating with the overhead trolley wire shall have the device locking and grounding in the lowest position that be applied release only from the position where they operate with a clear view of the pantograph of the roof within the roof. Guidance. The pantograph control switches buttons are usually located on the nearest engine control panel that should be operated with the railroad personnel. Inspectors should all be alert when the inspecting locomotives. The multiple unit locomotives are electrified territory. They should consider the Catarian system of the current carrying part of the third rail system be energized. Dangerous at all times. Inspectors should not get on the roof of any of the equipment when it is under the Catarian system. Extreme care should be exercised by the use of the handling of the metal gauges, tools, and around electrical equipment, especially in third rail equipment. 229.79. Third rail shoes. When locomotives are equipped with both third rail and overhead collector, third rail shoes shall be de-energized while in the yards and in the stations, while current collection is successfully formed from the overhead conductor. Guidance. Inspectors should be aware of the considerable force exerted with the third rail shoes between the operation. Therefore, the beams must be properly secured with the bracket and not split and cracked. 229.85. Doors and cover plates with danger. All doors and cover gates guarding with the higher voltage equipment should be marked danger high voltage or other word danger with the normal voltage carried by the parts to protected guidance. Venom should be only reported as defective if there are no markings indicating the obvious areas of the high voltage in the car body. The main generator and alternator generator compartment are marked with danger high voltage, danger the but the generator itself does not have every covered so marked, especially as if it is covered or bolted in place or should be reported as defected. Some logic has been used to inspectors determine if they are imminent danger versus the technical defective absence of cover not being marked. All right, 229.89 jumper cable connections. Jumper and cable connections between locomotives shall be located and guarded to provide with sufficient vertical clearance. They may not hang with one end of the free. Cable and jumper connections between locomotives may not have any of the following conditions: broken, badly shaft insulation, broken plug receptacles or terminals, broken or protruding strands of wire. Section A. Jumper cables with one end of the hanging loose shall not be taken into violation. The locomotive is found standing unattended. The locomotive is not in use assigned for the service. Conversely, with the locomotive observed in the use of one end of the jumper cable hanging appropriately, enforcement action should be taken. They apply to the locomotive standing at the yard within the confines of the locomotive servicing area. The inspector should periodically lift the jumper receptacle that ensure that all terminals and are suitable conditions for service. In addition, the jumper housing should be inspected to ensure that the seatings are properly and it feels free of cracks. 229.91 motors and generators. A motor and generator may not have any of the following conditions: be shorted or grounded, throw solder excessively, show evidence of coming apart, having overheated support bearing, having excessive accumulation of oil. Alright, your guidance. One of the defects of most often repaired accumulation of oil. The key word regulation excessive. The accumulation over exterior motor generator is not excessive. It should not be reported. Also, if an old accumulation is evidence of debris and dirt, no fresh oil is found, it should be not reported as defect. Status U-22993 safety cutoff valve. The fuel line shall have a safety cutoff valve device. It is located adjacent with the fuel supply tank in another safe in another safe location. Closes automatically will trip and can be reset without hazard. Can be hand operated with a clearly marked location, one side of the cab and one exterior side of the locomotive. Since the introduction of the EMD GP30 series, since the locomotive in the 1950s, the GEU 25 series, fuel safety cutoff valves have been incorporated with the emergency shutdown switch to the early fuel safety cutoff devices. It consists of the mechanical valve manually operated through a cable system with 3 locations for setting the valve and is also manual. Safety shutoff device in the type of the most operable 3 locations, one in the cab, one on the exterior side of the locomotive. The motor and power equipment is not operated. The safety cutoff the valve device. The inspector should request from the railroad to demonstrate the function on the random inspection whenever there is reason to believe the device is inoperable. If the required marking, the missing and incompleted violation should not be filed and should be brought to attention of the railroad for the correction. As a result of the accident involving the runaway, the Union Pacific Freight train derailed in Hayden, California. FRA published a notice of safety bulletin in the Register July 30th, 1997. The notice requires all the railroads to suspect the locomotives to determine the emergency multi-unit fuel cutoff switch located in the position so that it can be inadvertently activated by the engineer. Inadvertent actuation of the switch located by the knee level to the engineer is suspected as the cause of the Hayden, California accident. During normal inspection, the FRA inspector should carefully examine the locomotive fuel cutoff if the switch is vulnerability. Inadvertent actuation. The locomotive is found to have the vulnerability. Inspector should work with the railroad to comply with the notice of safety bulletin as quickly as possible. A disarrangement with the rising move with which the switch is vulnerable that cannot be resolved at the regional level. It should be referred to the motor power and equipment staff director of the motor equipment 9860. 229.95 venting. 229.97 grounding fuel tanks. Fuel tanks related piping should be electronically grounding. Guidance. There is no requirement for any type of the fuel gauge of the fuel air oil reserve. Generally, all locomotives have a fuel site gauge glasses on some type, but they are railroad conveniency and are automatic fuel shutoff equipment that is used in the fueling locomotives. Alright, 229.99 safety hangers. Drive shafts have safety hangers. The drive shafts Drive shaft hangers described in the section within the shaft that disconnected could fall on the track structure and cause derailment. The type of the drive shaft are found on the locomotive with the motive power used in the mechanical drive system to power the drive axle of the Bud Company, the RDC, and the French turbo trains. Alright, 229-101 engines. The temperature pressure alarm controls related switches. Internal combustion engines should function properly. Whenever the engine has been shut down due to mechanical or other problems, a distinctive warning device given the reason for the shutdown, which should be conspicuously attached near the engine of the starting control until the repairs have been made. Alright, C. Wheel slip protection should be provided with the locomotive with the engine displaying the warning notice wherever required in statute 229.11.15b. Section A, the guidance. Section A, the inspector should be alerted of safety switches with nullified while the inspection of the diesel engine and locomotive, where actual tampering of the engineering protective devices is found, the violation considered. 229-103, safe working pressure factor of safety. The safe working pressure of each steam generator shall be fixed with the chief mechanical officer of the carrier. The maximum factor of the safety shall be 4. The fixed safety working pressure shall be indicated with the FRA Form 6180-49A. 229-105 steam generator number. Identification number shall be marked on the steam generator separated that may the number entered in the FRA form 6180 and 49A. Section 229-107 pressure gauge. Each steam generator has been illuminated steam gauge that correctly indicates the pressure of the steam pressure gauge shall be generated not less than 1 and 1/2 times allowed with the working pressure of the steam generator. B. Each steam pressure gauge on the steam generator shall have the siphon that prevents the steam from entering the gauge. The pipe connection shall directly enter the siphon separator and shall be steam tight through separator in the gauge. Alright, 229-109 safety valves. Every steam generator shall be equipped with at least 2 safety valves that have combined with the capacity to prevent actuation of the pressure of more than 5 pounds per square inch above the allowed working pressure. The safety valve shall be independently connected to the separator located as closely in the separator as possible with the discharging inside of the generator compartment. The ends of the safety valve discharging line shall be located and protected with the discharge seam that does not create a hazard. 229-11-1 or 111. Water flow indicator. Steam generator shall be equipped with illuminated visual return water flow indicator. The steam generator shall be equipped with the operable testing. Other means of determining whether the steam generator is filled with water. The fill test valve may not be discharged stem or hot water in the steam generator compartment. 229-113 warning notice. Whenever any steam generator has been shut down because of the defective distinctive warning, notice given reason for the shutdown has been conspicuously attached near the steam generator starting controls until the necessary repairs have been made. The locomotive in which the steam generator is displaying the warning notice is located may continue service until the next period of inspection. Guidance. The steam generator regulations are not included in the entire because they are none of the service in the present time. The inspector refer to the current para 229. The steam generator is found in the service in his or her district. The Amtrak, the commuter rails use electricity to heat the passenger cars that operate the air, the conditioning units, provide train lighting over the ancillary equipment. The power source is usually a generator installed with a diesel electric locomotive or inadvertently an electrical current. Generators can be stood alone engine generator unit located in the car and auxiliary car compartment of the locomotive. The equipment is to be inspected by the FRA inspectors if the railroad responsible to maintain the equipment in the safe or the suitable condition for the service. All deficiencies shall be reported on Statute 229-45. Alright, 229-115. Slip and slide alarms. Except for the multiple unit locomotives, each locomotive is used with the road service shall be equipped with a device provided with the audible visual alarm of the cab and either slipping of the sliding of the wheels, power axle, one of the powers. When 2 or more locomotives are coupled with multiple remote control, the wheel slip slide alarm with each of the locomotives shall be shown in the cab of the control locomotive. Except for as provided in Statute 229-9, equipped locomotive may not be dispatched and or road service and continue with the road service following the daily inspection only unless the wheel slip slide protective device of whatever type is functioning either for each powered axle under the power or would function each powered axle if under the power. C. Effective January 1st, 1981, all new locomotives capable of being used in road service shall be equipped with a device that detects the wheel slip sliding for each powered axle when each was under the power, and the device shall be produced an audible visual alarm in the cab. One of the most DC powered traction motors, the slip slide device is nullified when the traction motor is cut out. Therefore, movement of the locomotive, the DC traction motor cut out can only be made under the provision of Statute 229.9. GE provided with the information concerning with the wheel slip sliding wheel lock protection provided with the GE-8 and 9 models locomotive manuals. These slip lock wheels devices function independent with the DC electrical energy to provide with the power of the traction motor. The FRA to different. Remember since the wheel slip slide detection remains fully active, even though one or more of the traction motors are cut out, it's not simply safely related item. It is properly conditioned safe to operate without unnecessarily peril to life or limb under the Title 49 on CFR 229.9. The conditions also meet the requirements of the slip and slide alarms of the Title 49 CFR 229.115, being consistent with the enforcement guidelines, policies retaining wheel slip slides and wheel locked alternating current locomotives. The FRA takes no exception to continued use of the locomotive with the wheel slipped arms and described above and provided with all the following conditions are met. One, locomotives OB equipped will not be permitted to operate the defective and/or cut-out transaction beyond any periodical inspection required under Title 49 CFR 229.23. Any railroad operating such locomotive must clearly identify within the operating cab locomotive the locomotive is using a wheel slip slide as described in the letter in which the operating cab of the locomotive. Locomotive operation of the AC traction wheel having the wheel slip slide detection system that remains regardless whether the inverter related to the traction motor is cut out with or with the slip slide system activated. The FRA to determine that the cutout AC traction motor's inverter not as safely related item does not take exemption to continued use of the locomotive with an AC traction motor cutout, provided that the locomotives do not operate with defective or cut out with the traction motor beyond the periodic inspection required in Statute 229.23 that applies to above both GEM and EMD locomotives. Section A, the wheel slide slip and slide device provided with either the audible visual alarm ending the cab is required with multiple locomotives consistent with the wheel slip and slide action that may occur with the trailing locomotive, remote control locomotives to active the device and then can be heard with the cab of the controlling locomotive. This applies to locomotives operating the DPU service. Alright, B, Section B, the exclusion of the requirement is included within Section 229.101 B and C. Section C, multiple unit locomotives prior to the January 1st, 1981 are excluded in this rule. The multiple unit locomotives built after the date must be equipped in this by section. Ultimate multiple unit locomotives have been powered by the wheels and equipped with the slip and slide protection must maintain and have equipment in operation condition. 229.117 indicators, speed indicators. After December 31st, 1980, each locomotive is controlled locomotive at speed in excess of 20 miles per hour shall be equipped with a speed increment indicator which is accurate within 3 plus or minus 3 miles per hour. Actually, speeds at 10 to 30 miles an hour per hour. Accurate with 5 to plus miles an hour. Speeds above 30 miles per hour. Clearly readable from the engineer's normal position under all light conditions. Each speed indicator required and tested as soon as possible after the departure means and speed tension test sections and procedures. Guidance. A. The inspector must recognize the regulations. Several qualifiers. 1. The locomotive is the controlling locomotive. 2. It must be the train that which exceeds the speed of 20 miles an hour. The 2 criteria must be before the enforcement procedures can be instituted. The locomotive is placed in service in the non-controlling position without a speed indicator within an operative speed indicator. The locomotive is in compliance with the section. The section applies with multiple unit locomotives when it is promulgated with the FRA informed of the affected communicator lines that could be applied with the waivers. Section B. If the speed indicator with the controlling locomotive becomes inoperative en route, it may continue with service under the provision of Section 229.9. It does not require the railroad to reduce the train speed to 20 miles or less. If non-complying with the condition, it can be brought into the compliance with the shifting position. The locomotive consistent with non-complying condition should be rectified doing at the next forward location. It could be decided with a Y or any other location physically possible to reposition the locomotive with endangering the safety of employees of the locomotive train. If the inspector developing a case with the railroad dispatch controlling locomotive with the reported defective speed indicator, suitable enforcement action shall be taken. Alright, 229.119, cabs, floors, and passageways. Cabs should be securely mounted and braced. Cab doors should be equipped with a secure operable latching device. Cab windows and lead locomotives shall be provided with an undistorted view of the right-of-way of the crew where from the normal position in the cab. See also safety glazing standards, Title 49 CFR Part 223, 44 Federal Registry 77348. It is number 31st, 1979. Floor cab passageways compartments shall be kept free from oil and water and waste of any obstruction, clipping, creating slipping and tripping of the fire heads. The floor shall be properly treated to provide secure footing. All right, D. The cab should provide with the proper ventilation when heating the arrangement. They maintain the temperature at least 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 inches above the center of each of the seat of the cab. The similar locomotive one owned to the platform, coupled with multiple controls used in the road surfaces, shall have means the safe passageway between them. No passageway is required through the nose of the car body locomotives. There should be continuous barrier across the full width of the end of the locomotive. Continuous barrier between the locomotives. Alright, F containers should be provided with the carrying fuses and torpedoes. A single container may be, if in use, the portion separate fusing from the torpedoes. Torpedoes should be kept closed metal container. Guidance. Section A. Cab sheets should be reported defective only when they are not securely mounted to the braced, well-mounted, secure bracket. Guided ways shall not open in the way that they allow the sheet bracket to inadvertently fall out. The hydraulic cab sheet should be checked for operational leaks. Section B. Cab window defects can be only reported if they interfere with the crew's undistorted right-of-way of the vision for the normal seated position in the cab. This is informed standard by the sufficient to required railroad properly maintain search and things such as window wipers, defrosters to meet the standard defect of cab windows for any of the other reasons, either be taken in under the glazing regulation in Part 223 or under Section 229.49 if broken or sharp edges create a personal injury hazard. C. Accumulation of oil, water, debris, and other items in the passageway, walkways, and the cab, control compartments, engines, compartment floors should be such a nature as to present potential hazardous, unsafe conditions for any person who would use them, e.g., slipping, stripping, does not provide with a secure floor footing. When an inspector discovers these conditions, he should determine the source to take appropriate enforcement action. Regulation does not require that such as the portable ice chest, crew luggage be secured in the cab. This item creates a personal injury that they should be addressed. Alright, locomotive air compressor compartments are routinely used for the storage of tools, materials, servicing the locomotive, the train, air hoses, jumper cable, wrenches, etc. There may be a recurring train crew entering the air compressor compartment to retrieve many of these items. If the floor of the air compressor compartment is clustered with loose material and or covered with the oil and slipping hazard exists, several railroads are currently installing toolboxes on their locomotives in the doorway leading them into the air compressor compartment. Toolbox location is identified at all the other doors and leading of the air compressor compartments are direct and maintenance personnel only, and the railroad believes that removing the tools from the compartment, denying all access to all the maintenance personnel. Slipping hazard has been removed in addition with the maintenance personnel entering the compartment and are required to inspect the floor first to remove any of the slipping, the tripping, and the hazard prior to the entry. In late 1990, the Motor Power and Equipment Technical Resolution Committee examined the application of the 229.119 relevant to the air compressor compartment in light scenario not noted above, based on the discussion recommendations developed by the TRC and the FRA, has determined that the presence of oil on the floor of the locomotive air compressor compartment does not constitute a slipping or tripping hazard under Statute 229.11.9c if all the following conditions are complied within. Train crews are prohibited from entering the air compressor compartment by general order, bulletin, or timetable instruction, or other formal instruction. The air compressor compartment doors are stenciled to indicate the train crew are not to enter in the compartments. The tool storage compartments are readily and clearly identified by stencils. Tool storage compartments are self-contained units and arranged and designed to be any tools and materials falling into storage. Hooks, racks do not fall onto the floor over the air compressor compartment. 5. When a crew member identifies without entering the compartment as slipping the hazard of the air compressor compartment, the condition is listed on the inspection report currently or nextly daily. Identification such as the condition should not be treated as a non-compliant condition under Part 229. All other conditions contained in this bulletin are otherwise met. When any of the tools and materials are used for the train are found on the air compartment floor, the condition is treated with the train as a tripping hazard, not complying with the condition under Statute 229.119c. Corrective action is taken. The railroad shall continue to clean the air compressor compartment as necessary in any timely fashion. Or the FRA inspector should take an appropriate enforcement action if there's oil in the air compressor compartment of the creates a slippery condition. There is any tool part or material inside that may be needed to the train crew member, even though all the conditions noted above have been met. The restricted area access, separate tool part, storage compartment area. Further, if the locomotive is not properly stenciled as noted on the train crew, the unaware of the excessive restriction in the air compressor compartment that there are any loose materials on the air compressor compartment floor that creates a slipping of the trapping hazard would be constitute non-compliance with statute 229.19c. The appropriate enforcement action should be taken in motor power and equipment 00105. Section E. The regulation does not require the locomotive connected with another locomotive to have an open-ended platform. It only requires that the locomotive does not have a continuous barrier such as a solid handrail. Then the passage between the two locomotives must be safe and protected by chains and other devices. Continuous barriers missing and should not be reported defectively. Locomotive is not being used and inspected in a locomotive severely facilitating. All there should be no minimum height restrictions when the chain is used. The inspector should ensure the chain does not present a tripping hazard. 229.129, 229.121, locomotive cab noise. Performance standard for locomotives. When tested with the static noise in accordance with paragraph A3 of the section, locomotives each designed with the model manufactured after October 29, 2007 should be average less than equal to 85 decibels with an upper of 99 confidence level of 87 decibels. The railroad may rely on certification of the equipment manufacturer for the production of the run standard of this meet. The manufacturer may determine the average of the testing representative sample of the locomotives in their initial scenarios of the locomotives provided with their suitable manufacturing quality controls, verification procedures in place to ensure the product consistency. In the maintenance of locomotives, they are manufactured in accordance with the paragraph A1. The section of the railroad shall not make an alteration that cause the average sound level for the locomotive design model to exceed the 82 decibels is the average sound level for the locomotive design or model less than 82 decibels. If 85 decibels are average sound level for the locomotive design for the model 2, 82 decibels to 85 decibels is inclusive. The railroad manufacturer shall follow the static test protocol set forth in Appendix H of the part determining compliance with paragraph A1 of this section. The extent of reasonable necessary to evaluate the effect of alterations during the maintenance deterring the compliance with the paragraph A2 of this section. B. The maintenance of the locomotives. If the railroad service receives excessive noise, report if the condition given the rise of the rail noise requires immediate corrective. But under Part 229, the railroad shall be maintain a record of the report and repair and replace the item identified and substantially contributing to the noise. On or before the next periodic inspection required in Statute 229.23. 2. If the railroad determines the repair or replacement of the item requires significant shop and material resources that they are not readily available at the time, the next major equipment to repair commonly used for the particular type of the maintenance needed. 2. Conditions may lead to the locomotive cab occupant to file excessive noise report may not be limited to defective cab windows, seals, defective cab seals or broken inoperative windows, deteriorated insulation that has been removed to other reasons, broken inoperative doors, air brakes that have been ventilated inside of the cab. A railroad has an obligation to respond to excessive noise report that a locomotive cab occupation of the railway meets the obligation to respond to excessive noise reports as set forth in paragraph B1 of this section. The railroad makes a good faith effective to identify the cause of the reported noise. Whenever the railroad is successful in determining the cause of the noise, the railroad replace the items that caused the noise. Alright, 4. Record keeping. A railroad shall maintain a written electronic record of the excessive noise report, inspection, testing, maintenance, replacement, repair completed pursuant to the statute 229.121b of the day of which the inspection, test, maintenance, replacement, repair occurred. If the record elects to maintain an electronic record of the railroad must satisfy the conditions listed in statute 227.121 A2B1 A2 1 through 5. 2. The railroad shall retain these records for 92 days if they are made in pursuant with statute 229.21, for 1 year if they are made pursuant with 229.23. The railroad shall establish internal audible monitorable system that contains these records. Guidance. The TPD, your pilot, snowplows, and end plates. After January 1st, 1981, each lead locomotive shall be equipped with an end plate that extends out across both rails at a pilot or a snowplow. The minimum clearance above the rail of the pilot snowplow ends of the plate shall be 3 inches. The maximum clearance is 6 inches. The section allows multiple unit locomotives to keep in several railroads that have been granted the conditional waivers that allow maximum height to be greater than 6 inches for the locomotive using hump yard service. For example, for a locomotive consisting of the requirements only applies to the lead locomotive, the measurement should be taken to a relatively level track. The inspector should not defect the locomotive for a minimal deviation for the height requirement. The railroad should be to use adjusted end arrangement so that it is compliant. 229, 125 headlights and auxiliary lights.